First contact fallout. The skies over New Shanghai gleamed with the familiar dance of atmospheric shuttles and orbital transports. Humanity's modest but proud display of technological achievement in the year 2087. 65 years after the Great Reconciliation, Earth had finally united under the global coalition, ending centuries of warfare and environmental destruction. The planet was healing, humanity was advancing, and the solar system was slowly being colonized with outposts stretching from Mercury to the moons of Neptune. Commander Maya Chen stood on the observation deck of Orbital Command Station Artemis, her dark eyes scanning the familiar blue marble below. At 43, she'd spent more time in space than on the surface, her career dedicated to Earth's fledgling defense network. The station's gentle hum was interrupted by an urgent alert from her neural implant. "Commander," Lieutenant Okafor's voice resonated directly in her auditory cortex. Anomalous readings at the heliopause. Multiple objects decelerating from superluminal velocities. Chen's pulse quickened. Humanity had been broadcasting signals into space for over 2 centuries, but had never received a definitive response. Either they were alone, or someone was listening very quietly. "Gather the response team," she ordered, already moving toward the command center. "And notify Coalition headquarters. First Contact Protocol Alpha is now in effect." Within minutes, the command center transformed into a hive of controlled urgency. Holographic displays showed the approaching objects, over 300 of them, moving with purpose and precision that eliminated any possibility of natural phenomena. "They've crossed Neptune's orbit," reported Tactical Officer Rivera, his fingers dancing across his console. Velocity decreasing. Formation suggests military configuration. Chen felt a chill. They had always hoped first contact would be peaceful. They had also prepared for the alternative. "Alert all coalition defense assets," she ordered. "Quiet mobilization. No provocative moves." The newcomers slowed as they approached Mars, revealing themselves as sleek, obsidian vessels with strange geometric protrusions that seemed to distort the space around them. The largest was nearly 4 kilometers long, dwarfing humanity's most ambitious constructions. Then came the transmission, a perfect, unaccented English voice broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. "People of Earth, we are the Valkyrie Ascendancy. Your planet has been selected for resource extraction and colonization. Your species has demonstrated remarkable resilience, but insufficient technological advancement for galactic citizenship. You will evacuate all major population centers within 48 Earth hours. Resistance is discouraged." The message repeated in Mandarin, Hindi, Spanish, Arabic, and 12 other major languages. President Alvarez's face appeared on the main screen, her usually composed features taut with tension. "Commander Chen, assessment. Their technology is centuries beyond ours, Madam President. Conventional resistance would be ineffective. Options." Chen hesitated before answering. "Operation Hydra, Mom." Alvarez closed her eyes briefly. Operation Hydra had been considered a paranoid contingency by many, a massive allocation of resources toward a threat that might never materialize. Now it seemed prescient. "You have authorization. God help us all." The next 48 hours saw the largest mass movement of humans in history. Millions streamed from major cities into the countryside, into underground shelters, into hastily established refugee centers. Global news networks showed families carrying what possessions they could, children clutching toys, faces marked by fear and uncertainty. From orbit, it looked like surrender. The Valkyrie fleet moved into position, their massive ships hovering over Beijing, New York, Lagos, Sao Paulo, and 20 other major cities. Smaller vessels descended, deploying strange machinery that began drilling into the earth, extracting rare minerals with incredible efficiency. From her command post in the Himalayan redoubt, Chen watched the feeds with her team. Captain Sato, Chief Engineer Lakshmi, and Tactical Lead Rodriguez, each selected years ago for this very scenario. "They've taken the bait," Chen said quietly. All primary extraction units deployed. No further ships have arrived in system. Rodriguez nodded grimly. They think we're just going to give up our home without a fight. They don't know humans very well. The evacuation is 97% complete, reported Sato. Remaining population is military or volunteers. Chen took a deep breath. Activate Operation Hydra. All phases, all sectors. Lakshmi's hands flew across her console. Transmitting activation codes now. Planetary defense grid powering up. For decades, while publicly pursuing space exploration and environmental restoration, humanity had secretly been preparing. Deep beneath the oceans, embedded in mountain ranges, disguised as civilian infrastructure, thousands of defensive installations waited. Not conventional weapons that would be useless against such advanced technology, but something uniquely human. Across the planet, quantum entanglement receivers activated. Millions of microscopic machines, seeded throughout Earth's crust over decades, awakened. In orbit, seemingly defunct satellites suddenly aligned themselves. The first indication the Valkyrie had that something was wrong came when their extraction equipment in Johannesburg simply disintegrated. The advanced alloys and composite materials broke down at the molecular level, consumed by a swarm of nanomachines specifically designed to target non-Earth origin materials. Similar scenarios played out worldwide as Earth's hidden defenses activated. Chen watched with grim satisfaction as confusion spread through the alien fleet. They're responding, Rodriguez reported. Vessels moving to defensive configurations. The Valkyrie response was swift and brutal. Energy weapons lanced down from orbit, targeting the sources of the nanomachine swarms. But for each installation they destroyed, 3 more activated. Phase 2, Chen ordered. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, enormous electromagnetic accelerators powered up. Not designed for conventional projectiles, these massive railguns fired specially engineered pods containing billions of nanomachines, their trajectories calculated to intercept Valkyrie vessels in low orbit. The first pod struck a mid-sized alien ship over Cairo. Instead of an explosion, there was simply a visible ripple across the vessel's surface as the nanomachines began their work. Within minutes, the ship began to list in orbit, its control systems compromised. They're preparing a major counterattack, Sato warned, monitoring the alien communications they could intercept. Energy signatures building in their capital ships. Chen nodded. This had always been the most dangerous moment in their simulations, the point where the invaders would realize the seemingly primitive humans had teeth. Activate the orbital defense platforms, she ordered. Across Earth's orbit, what the Valkyrie had dismissed as primitive communication satellites suddenly revealed their true purpose. Powered by compact fusion reactors, they generated targeted electromagnetic pulses specifically calibrated to the frequencies used by Valkyrie technology. A countermeasure developed from decades of studying faint signals from deep space. 3 Valkyrie destroyers immediately lost power, drifting helplessly. Others experienced cascading systems failures. The massive flagship, however, remained operational, protected by redundant systems. They're adapting, Lakshmi warned. Changing frequencies, hardening their systems. Chen had expected nothing less. Initiate Phase 3 and send the signal to Admiral Khatri. As chaos engulfed Earth's orbit, a new threat emerged for the Valkyrie. Not from the planet below, but from the darkness beyond. Humanity had not been idle in colonizing their solar system, and not all of their advancements had been publicly disclosed. From the shadows of the asteroid belt, from hidden bases on Mars and Europa, from the dark side of the moon, human vessels emerge. Not the crude chemical rockets the Valkyrie had expected, but ships powered by experimental fusion drives, armed with weapons developed in secret. Admiral Prisha Khatri's voice came through the command channel, clear and determined from her flagship hidden in the Jovian clouds. Solar Defense Fleet responding. Commander. Operation Hydra Phase 3 commenced. The human counterattack had begun, and the Valkyrie were about to learn why challenging Earth had been their greatest mistake. On the main view screen, Chen watched as hundreds of human ships converged on Earth from all directions. They were smaller than the alien vessels, less advanced in many ways, but they moved with a coordination and determination that caught the invaders completely by surprise. All units, Chen broadcast to every defender of Earth, remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly. The battle for Earth had only just begun. Humanity unbound. Supreme Commander Threlix of the Valkyrie Ascendancy stood immobile on the command deck of the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, his 4 eyes narrowed at the tactical display before him. What should have been a routine extraction operation, one of hundreds his fleet had conducted across this spiral arm, had deteriorated into chaos in less than an Earth day. Impossible, he hissed, his translucent skin flushing purple with rage. These primitives were supposed to be defenseless. Their technology was assessed at level 3, barely beyond atmospheric flight. Strategic Overseer Calva ducked her head submissively. The assessment was based on their public infrastructure and broadcasts. Supreme Commander, it appears the humans deliberately concealed their true capabilities. A nearby console exploded as a human EMP burst penetrated their shields. Emergency systems immediately compensated, but the implications were clear. The Valkyrie's technological superiority was not as absolute as they had believed. They deceived us, Threlix realized, mandibles clicking in agitation. A species that presented itself as divided and primitive, while secretly preparing for galactic war. From the shadow of Phobos, Admiral Caftry directed the human counteroffensive with methodical precision. The Solar Defense Fleet had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. Ships built in hidden lunar facilities, crews trained in the dark expanses beyond Neptune, weapons tested in the electromagnetic storms of Jupiter. All squadrons, execute Pattern Theta, she commanded. Focus fire on their support vessels. Don't give them time to regroup. The human fleet moved with practiced coordination, smaller vessels darting between the massive Valkyrie warships, deploying EMP bursts and nanomachine pods at critical junctures. They had studied potential alien technologies for decades, developing countermeasures for every conceivable weapon system. Back in the Himalayan Command Center, Commander Chen monitored the space battle while preparing Earth's final surprise. Planetary defense grid at 87% and rising, reported Engineer Lakshman. The Valkyrie are attempting to jam our control signals. Chen smiled thinly. Let them try. Each node is autonomous once activated. The grid was humanity's masterpiece, a planet-wide network of defensive installations linked by quantum communication. Unlike traditional military assets that could be neutralized by superior firepower, the grid was decentralized, self-repairing, and adaptive. They're launching a major offensive against Admiral Caftry's forces, Rodriguez warned, watching as dozens of Valkyrie attack craft swarmed toward the human fleet. Now, Chen ordered, activate the grid. Full power. Across Earth's surface, thousands of seemingly innocuous structures, weather monitoring stations, communications towers, even art installations, revealed their true purpose. Massive energy collectors deployed, drawing power from the Earth's magnetic field itself, channeling it into precisely calibrated beam weapons. From orbit, the planet appeared to illuminate with a web of blue-white energy. The beams converged on Valkyrie vessels with surgical precision, guided by targeting data from the human fleet. 3 alien destroyers were crippled instantly, their shields overloaded by an energy source they hadn't believed possible from a primitive world. On the Inevitable Conquest, alarms blared as sensors detected the new threat. Planetary-scale weaponry. Threlix demanded incredulously. How could they have hidden this? The tactical officer, his movements growing frantic, reported. They've integrated their technology with their planet's natural systems. They're using Earth itself as a weapon platform. This violated every principle of Valkyrie military doctrine. Advanced civilizations built their defenses in space, protecting valuable planetary resources. Only the humans would be audacious, or desperate, enough to weaponize their homeworld. Threlix made a decision. All vessels, maximum offensive deployment. Glass their defense installations. We will extract resources from the remains. But the Valkyrie had underestimated not just humanity's technology, but their tactics. Admiral Catri's fleet suddenly broke formation, individual vessels scattering in seemingly random directions. What are they doing? Calva questioned. The answer came moments later as hundreds of small objects detached from the human ships. Combat drones, each barely larger than a ground transport, but moving with impossible agility. They swarmed toward the Valkyrie formation, too numerous and fast-moving to target effectively. Within minutes, they had attached themselves to the hulls of 24 alien vessels. Rather than detonating, they began broadcasting on Valkyrie communication frequencies. In the Himalayan command center, Captain Sato grinned. Cognitive warfare package deployed. Translation algorithms engaging. Chen nodded in satisfaction. Let's see how they handle fighting a war on two fronts, physical and psychological. The Valkyrie experienced something entirely new to their species, fear. Their communication systems were suddenly flooded with human messages, historical accounts of Earth's most brutal wars, psychological analyses of human resilience, detailed explanations of how humanity had prepared for this moment for generations. We studied the stars and knew we weren't alone. Chen's voice echoed through every Valkyrie ship. We knew someone would come eventually. So we prepared, not just with weapons, but with understanding. We've been listening to your transmissions for decades, learning your languages, your tactics, your weaknesses. Aboard the inevitable conquest, Threlix realized too late the true extent of the trap. The humans hadn't just been defending. They had been testing, probing, learning. Each Valkyrie countermeasure revealed more about their technology, which the adaptive human systems immediately incorporated into their attack strategies. All vessels, he commanded desperately, disengage and regroup at the secondary position. But retreat proved as difficult as advance. The human fleet didn't pursue in traditional formation, but split into smaller hunting packs that harried the Valkyrie from multiple vectors. Meanwhile, Earth's defensive grid continued to pick off stragglers with increasing accuracy. In orbit above North America, the Valkyrie flagship Dominion of Stars suddenly lost propulsion, victim to a particularly effective nanomachine attack. As emergency systems failed one by one, its commander made a desperate decision. We must demonstrate our power, he transmitted to Threlix. Permission to deploy stellar converters against their planet. Stellar converters, weapons capable of inducing localized solar flares, represented the pinnacle of Valkyrie military technology. Never before had they been required to use such measures against a Level 3 civilization. Threlix hesitated only briefly. Permission granted. Target their largest population centers. On Earth, the deployment was immediately detected. Energy buildup in 5 Valkyrie capital ships, Rodriguez reported urgently. Pattern matches theoretical stellar manipulator technology. Chen's expression remained calm, though her pulse quickened. They're getting desperate. Admiral Catri, are your special assets in position? Ready and waiting, Commander, came the confident reply. As the Valkyrie stellar converters began to charge, strange distortions appeared near each capital ship, spatial anomalies that seemed to bend the fabric of reality itself. Quantum displacement drives activated, Lakshmi confirmed. Phase-shifted interceptors are away. This was humanity's most closely guarded technological achievement. Experimental vessels capable of briefly shifting partially out of normal spacetime, becoming almost impossible to detect or target. Developed from theories that most human scientists had publicly dismissed as impossible, these interceptors now materialized alongside the Valkyrie capital ships. Before the aliens could react, the interceptors deployed their payloads, not explosive weapons, but highly sophisticated quantum field disruptors that targeted the precise frequencies used by the stellar converters. The weapons didn't just fail, they backfed enormous energy into the Valkyrie ship's systems. 2 capital ships were instantly crippled. A third suffered catastrophic power system failure. The remaining 2 managed to abort their firing sequences, but not before sustaining significant damage. Threlix stared at the tactical display in disbelief. They countered our most advanced weapons technology. How is this possible? The answer came directly from Commander Chen, who had established a direct communication link to the Valkyrie flagship. Supreme Commander Threlix, she addressed him calmly, using his correct title and name. Knowledge that shocked him further. Your assessment of humanity was fundamentally flawed. You saw our public face and assumed it was our only face. You mistook preparation for primitiveness. On her signal, Admiral Caftry's fleet formed a precise formation around the remaining Valkyrie vessels, while Earth's defense grid targeted the flagship with enough energy to penetrate even its formidable shields. We could destroy your fleet now, Chen continued, but that's not our way. Unlike the Valkyrie ascendancy, we don't believe in unnecessary extinction. For the first time in his long military career, Threlix found himself in an unwinnable position. Even if he sacrificed his entire fleet in a suicidal attack, the humans had demonstrated capabilities that suggested they could defend against anything the Valkyrie might deploy. What are your terms? He finally asked, the words bitter in his mouth. Immediate withdrawal from our solar system, a formal recognition of Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory, and a diplomatic exchange to establish peaceful relations between our peoples. And if we refuse, Chen's voice remained steady, then we will be forced to demonstrate why your ascendancy's policy of conquering primitive worlds is not just morally wrong, but tactically unsound. Within hours, the Valkyrie fleet began its retreat, their once proud armada now limping away from the blue planet they had so gravely underestimated. As the last ship disappeared beyond Neptune's orbit, celebrations erupted across Earth and throughout the human colonies. In the aftermath, humanity revealed itself to the wider galaxy, not as conquerors, but as a species that would not be conquered. Ambassador Chen, formerly commander, soon found herself representing Earth at the Galactic Council, where the defeat of the previously undefeated Valkyrie had sent shockwaves throughout civilized space. The humans are an anomaly, noted the Krell representative, a silicon-based life form whose species had achieved spaceflight 2 million years earlier. They developed in isolation, yet somehow anticipated the very nature of interstellar politics. Not an anomaly, Chen corrected gently. Simply the product of a different evolutionary path. On Earth, we learned early that the strongest species isn't always the largest or the most technically advanced. It's the one most adaptive to change, most creative in crisis. As she spoke, reports arrived of new diplomatic missions from a dozen major galactic powers, all suddenly eager to establish relations with the humans. The balance of power had shifted, not through conquest, but through resistance. A uniquely human victory. In the observation lounge of Diplomatic Station Unity, built where Orbital Command Station Artemis once stood, Chen gazed down at the blue planet that had defended itself against impossible odds. We revealed ourselves sooner than planned, Admiral Caftry noted, joining her at the viewport. The Galactic Council wasn't supposed to know about us for another decade. Chen smiled. Plans change. Adaptation is what we do best. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, its surface bearing few visible scars from the invasion. But humanity had been transformed forever, no longer isolated, no longer hiding their true capabilities, and never again to be underestimated. The stars, once distant and mysterious, now represented not just possibility but responsibility. Humanity had earned its place among galactic civilizations, not through conquest, but through defense, protecting their home with the fierce intelligence and adaptability that had always been their greatest strength. As new alien delegations arrived daily, the galaxy began to understand what the Valkyrie had learned at great cost. Underestimating humans was the most dangerous mistake any species could make.